Hi everyone. My name is Taapas Trivedi, and welcome to We Are Here. Today is a very special episode because we're joined by Harshal Shukla. Harshal, please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Harshal. I'm a musician, I'm a pianist, composer, currently educator, uh, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about being early or being late when it comes to various things in life, your career, relationships, friendships, a lot of things. Sometimes we do feel that we might be early in this race of life, and sometimes we might be falling behind. And it leaves us with this sense of frustration. And it becomes difficult to carry on with life when you are constantly troubled with the achievements that other people make. So, what are your views on that, Harshal? Because we've had this conversation multiple times on and off.
Well, I've felt both, like early and late, for different things in life. For example, starting out as a classical pianist in India at the age of 16, 17 is too late if you compare it to the Western world. Over there, people start at the age of 3, 4. So, yeah, but then as I grew, as I, specialized in what I was doing, it just became a myth because I've seen people who have been playing at the age of, 3, 4 outside of India, but sometimes they lack something that you have more than them.
Yeah.
Which could be a musicality, the way you are expressing your music. So yeah, in that case, I feel that maybe it changes after a point. So eventually the answer is yeah. I mean, it in most cases it's just a myth, the whole early and late scenario, because everything happens when it's supposed to happen.
Yeah, I am also a great believer of that, but sometimes it gets difficult to believe in that. So has that come in the way of you creating pieces, or when it comes to your performance? Because there is this pressure that's always surrounding even people who are not in creative fields. You have because of social media, we are now surrounded with stories of child prodigies and people who have started businesses at the age of 15, 14 or even younger, and then you start to compare your life with them, and I think it does affect you, and that affects how you approach your life and your career or any other thing that you're comparing. So has that ever been the case with you, where that idea has sort of come in your way?
It sort of lingers. Every now and then you have that feeling of being left behind in your arriving early in your career or in your profession. But then it's the path that you have chosen, so I can't blame myself for not having composed a Hollywood film at the age of 19 because I was doing something else.
Yeah.
I was studying music. So yeah, it's the path that has chosen you, or the path that you have chosen. It does feel, as a creative individual, you face a lot of creative block and the creative pressure. When you see, especially now since 2-3 years, the social media is giving a lot of support to the young artists, and you see a lot of new music coming out, and for me especially personally, it just becomes very overwhelming to see so much of talent. It feels good, but then it also makes you feel that you're not doing anything.
Exactly.
So at that, I just remind myself that ultimately it's our journeys are different, uh, and I should focus more on my journey rather than comparing myself to other people or other artists. Uh, yeah, that's what I feel.
But
what about you?
so with me, my story is a little bit different because I started off way early, and even right now I'm quite ahead of a lot of my peers that might be my age. So I started writing at the age of 11, and then I started making a lot of short films, and then now I just finished my fourth film as an assistant director yesterday. And on set, and even anywhere, I am the youngest person, so that also it becomes challenging because everybody sort of considers you small, and they might not consider your opinions might not matter that much. So in that case, you do recognize that you're ahead of everyone, but then there is always this fear. So I told you that I'm turning 20 soon, and I don't think I've achieved that much in my life. But
that is, I feel that's gonna be the same for every person who has achieved, something great at the age of say 17.
yeah,
18.
but see, again, I don't consider what I've achieved great, but then there is this pressure, and that rather the fear that everybody will go ahead of me, because for all my life I've been ahead of my peers, touch wood. And now there is this fear that if I become a little lazy or I might take some time off, I might get left behind. So that's what happened in between. I was not able to make films because you are constantly surrounded with this pressure, and then it gets more intense because the more time you're spending not doing anything, you are constantly, so that fear that lingers on, that people ahead around you might come ahead of you, and that is a good thing. But when you've spent all your life in a certain position, it becomes a little intimidating.
Mhm. I don't. Maybe it's the age. Cut.
No,
Maybe
no
it's
cuts.
maybe it's the age gap or something. But
Yeah.
I don't believe in this race, first of all.
Yeah.
And I should say, when I was your age, even then I didn't believe in this race.
Yeah.
Because I feel, at least in our what we have been doing, things should happen naturally and organically, and it shouldn't be forced. So yeah, I mean, if you look at that way, I also started playing music when I was
Way early.
3 or 4. So there are aspects in your life where you feel you are ahead of a lot of people. But if you, for example, if you think of me as a music composer or someone who wants to produce, an album or something. I haven't. It for me. I just don't know. I can't let it force myself. Because
Yeah.
I want, when I do it, that when I do when I publish or release my first album or something, it needs to be special.
Yeah.
It can't be something that just I'm doing because I feel pressurized or forced.
Yeah. But I also think that when that idea of a race is in your head, you are also bound to finish your work. So
It's in some cases it's true too. I mean, it's good to have a deadline. When I wear a lot of hats, I've worn a lot of hats. So I've been a performer, I've been a composer, I've been an arranger, I've been an educator.
yeah.
I've also worked in the domain of arts and culture and media and communication, PR and all those things. But so if I want to do a concert, for example, setting a deadline first is what is more important than sitting down on the piano and practicing the whole day.
Exactly.
So in some cases, yes, it's good to be in the race. So when I want to do a 1 hour concert, let's say 5 months from now, I it's reverse engineering. I will choose the venue first. I'll select the date first. All those things I will start working on first rather than me practicing or focusing on the concert.
Yeah.
That's what happened when we performed in 22 for the first time after COVID, after a long time. So yeah, it just I was speaking to someone who was willing to organize a concert for us, and we just blocked the date on the Google Calendar without even me knowing what I'm gonna play, who I'm gonna play with. So now I know that okay, we're time crunched, and we have to get going. So in some cases, yes, it's good to have the race element,
and that's the fun of it.
Yeah.
When you are in a rush, so there are times when I block some time out and I start writing poems, and the fun of it is that when I know that I have to finish a poem by the end of this day, you don't know what you're going to write about, but as the day progresses and the poem progresses, you suddenly you have a poem, and then it sort of culminates also in a very beautiful way that is very unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
But I really believe that if I had given myself the liberty of not having a deadline, I don't think I would have finished it. And I think that's why deadlines are very important in today's time and age also, because we are just so distracted. Our attention span is just fragmented. And so we witnessed this in Mami when we were watching that film. That film about that girl and her mother. Where so it was like the third screening we were in that day, and people were walking out. The Malaysian film. So people were walking out. It was a very slow film, and 15 minutes into the film, because nothing was happening, like things were happening, but it was at an incredibly slow pace, and people just started walking out. So by the end of it, there were like, I don't know, a dozen people left. Yeah, so like a tightly packed theater, and by the end of it, only a dozen people were left. And so that also speaks a lot about our time and age. And the other thing is that people think that time is very valuable, so they would not waste it. So that is why you have all of these time management courses that are so popular nowadays, because people also recognize that they cannot just waste away their time. So I think that is also involved in the importance of having a deadline. And this, but still this pressure remains that you are too early or you're too late. And I also believe that as we progress into another, I think, decade, people are also starting to lose a lot of hope, because there are opportunities that are arising and people are grabbing them, but they're not that hopeful for those opportunities. Like the people around me right now, so I'm in college, and a lot of my friends, they just go to these internships that offer them certificates, but those certificates do not have that much of value. They're devoting their time and energy, and because they don't have that much of value, these guys who have invested so much of their efforts into doing something are suddenly left with the idea that the world is not providing the right opportunities for them, or the right opportunities are not arising around them. So then they'll start to compare themselves with peers on social media. And the thing is, we do not know how did these people who are achieving startup businesses or are doing so well in their life so early have gotten there. There must be so much more to the picture than what we are looking. And so it just becomes more and more, I don't know, bleak, for these people. And then that gap sort of increases. because throughout our lives we have had this path that we have to walk onto. You go to school, you go to college, and you have your job. Now people are starting to realize that there's so much more in life that they can achieve, and they see people achieving that, and they might not have the right means to achieve it, and so it becomes more and more bleak, and so they get more frustrated that we are too late in our lives. Or I think in those cases it's just that we are too late in our lives. Like, people our age have achieved so much, and here we are. What is? And then you start to question what is your purpose. And I think I really do believe that's a very difficult position to be in, because as even our population increases, our resources sort of dwindle, the right opportunities stop arising. And when they do arise, a lot of people are not even ready to grab onto them, which makes this gap pretty wide. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to go back to the film that we both love, Midnight in Paris.
Yes.
So that guy, he always feels like he's, if he would have been born in the, कौन सा year था वो? Which year was in the film that he goes back to?
Late 19th century.
Late 19th century, right?
Yes.
And Paris was populated with so many creative, gifted minds.
Yeah.
And he constantly kept feeling that if he would have been born, in that time and age, he would have been successful. And then he goes back even further, and he sees all of these great people who think that they should have been born, in a time and age before them. So it's this never-ending cycle of people just yearning to have the right opportunities around them, and then they sort of blame the world. And yeah, it becomes really bleak, because so I also have a few friends who are extremely talented, but either it's the world that does not allow them to sort of take on the challenge of the opportunities, or it's themselves. And social media is just making it so worse, because now, so the other thing is, when it comes to creative fields like ours, when we are constantly undergoing this pressure and we tend to do a lot more than we can handle, we end up facing burnout, which is like the worst thing that a creative can go through.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I also always wanted to be in the late 19th century.
Both of us.
I've been a huge fan of French music. I've played some amount of French music in my life. So it's also about, if you look at the history of art or music or cinema or anything in general, do you feel that we have reached a point where everything has been said?
I mean, see, again, that is the thing. You find new ways to say
that is
things.
Also another reason why you sort of feel that if I was, if I was born in like 1870s or something.
Yeah.
So many things were not introduced yet.
But we would not have known,
Yeah, but still. I mean, it's true, it's evolution.
Yeah.
Even in art. But
yeah.
I can feel the the evolution of music. So it's like this huge explosion in the 21st century.
Yeah.
Like crazy things are happening.
Yeah.
So many ideas. Sometimes it is so overwhelming that you can't guess or predict what's coming next.
Yeah.
If you look at the history.
Yeah.
If you start with the medieval period or Renaissance period of music, look at where we are right now. You can find traces of the history, the past, but there is just so much new material that has come,
Hmm.
and after a point, it's so intimidating that you can't know what's gonna happen next
Hmm.
in terms of the evolution of any art form,
Yeah.
even cinema.
Hmm. So yeah. So in cinema, so I outright reject virtual reality, and I outright reject a lot of these advancements that they're making in cinema projection. So they started tinkering with the idea of vertical screens. So like your phone, and I hate it, and a lot of people hate it. But again, the evolution in cinema right now is going back to what we were
Yeah, so
in
we are
the
we're kind
50s
of in
and
a very
60s.
neoclassical, movement right now,
Yeah.
which was going on even in early 20th century.
Yeah, so if you look at Top Gun Maverick, which did so well, incredibly well, and the reason was that it had characters that were reminiscent of characters that were being made in the 50s, 60s, I think up until the 70s. And they're very hopeful guys. The hero is going to save the day, and you have this happy ending. It does not talk about the rather bleak things that we see in our society nowadays. And that is the reason why that film did so well, because you go to the theater, you watch that film, and you end up going home with very happy mood. So that is the theme. So the what would you say, that the trend in cinema nowadays. But yeah, again, coming back to being early or being late. So I think that does come in our way when it comes to just living our life in general. So a lot of people get very frustrated when they compare themselves to even what their parents were in their age. And so that also begins at home, because you start to measure your success in very tangible elements. Like, oh, you don't even have a house yet, and you're 26. Like, when I was your age, I I had you know or 2 children or 3 children, and I had gone so far ahead in my life. And I think that might be the root cause of this problem, that we start comparing ourselves with tangible ways, that, oh, I've grown this much. But when it comes to the intangible factors or the emotional factors, I think we sort of dismiss that. And I think when you do consider the intangible factors as well, that is when you sort of realize that you have made progress in life. And these are conversations that actually happen at the end of the year, because then you reflect.
Yeah, I also feel that everyone. I mean, we're not gonna probably talk about fate and all those things, but
No, why not?
I feel that success is subjective for everyone, and it's very differentiated for every one of us. So, let's say a person who has been living in a village for about 20 years, and at the age of 21, 22, he moves to a city, a big city, a metro city, to choose his career path or whatever. And 10, 15 years down the line, he makes it quite big with respect to what he has been through.
Yeah.
So again, it's relative. Success is, I believe that it's very relative. So you can't say that person hasn't achieved anything just because we don't know that person, or that person is not famous.
Yeah.
So I think it's the same for all of us. We can't really regret not being in a specific place at X, in X number of years. It's a myth. So if you
So
were-
being at the right place at the right time is a myth, is what you believe?
No, I mean, you are where you're supposed to be.
Ah,
So
right.
if you are supposed to be where, you know, things start falling in place for you, then it's good.
Yeah.
But if you aren't, then it's gonna take some time, and that's fine. Because that is creating another path of your life.
Yeah.
If I'm taking 1 year off to learn French and, you know, not doing anything, let's say musically, I can't go back and regret that period, because it has opened a lot of, you know, avenues for me.
That you.
1 year.
So that
So
you don't know of in that one after the 1 year end. So it might pay off 10 years down the line.
yeah, it has paid me
Huh.
already.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
no.
what I believe. I
No.
mean,
No. Tell us. I know. How has it paid off? Tell us.
Well, I've been able to. I landed my very first job where speaking French was a mandatory thing. I was only 22,
Yeah.
21 or 22 when I got this job. I was living in Paris alone, you know, knowing the language, how to speak, how to communicate to people. So I didn't have to feel uncomfortable around people. And I feel learning a language and knowing another language is a big plus today, I think. I am able to make connections with people, you know, from, let's say, France.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and that job that I did for 2 years, whatever, it made me another person. It just added things, you know.
But you did not know that when you were learning French.
I didn't know. I was learning French for my motive was that I have to go to France.
To France,
study.
yeah.
So I need to know French. But I also loved the language.
Yeah. Extremely.
That's why I also ended up picking up very fast.
Yeah.
I used to listen to a lot of radio and you know, watch a lot of films. And yeah, it has only added experiences in me and not, you know, make me regret why did I learn French. So
Yeah.
I believe in just filling things in,
Yeah.
rather than, you know, being in a linear state of mind of, you know, a direction or something that you have to follow this. You can't do anything else. Just focus on one thing only, then you'll master that thing. So I don't belong there.
Same.
I believe in having multiple skills.
Yeah.
Because right now that is what's required.
Yeah. And
even and then there'll be one thing or the other which is very close to your heart. For me, it's playing piano.
Yeah.
Or let's say composing or whatever.
Yeah.
So that you keep doing, that will keep you sane. But then there are other things which will come in handy.
And
so yeah,
and they'll also make you a better person.
Yes.
So it makes you a very well-rounded person. So again, a lot of people around me, especially nowadays, they don't have those multiple skills or those interesting flares you have in a person. Because again, their focus is money. And that, I think, money is one of the biggest, ways people start to measure their success. And as you said, they go through that one direction. So I think in that race also of being too early and being too late, when you don't stop to smell the roses, you miss out on a lot that might make you a very better person. So with you, I can talk to you about anything, and you have that knowledge, and it does not appear overnight. It's built over the years. And I think even when we talk about surrounding ourselves with people, when we were having this conversation a few days ago, and I told you how I don't feel like I fit around the people I'm surrounded with, and it's because you don't get to talk about a lot of other things than people. So you miss that talking about ideas, because that person, the person I'm talking to, has not given himself or herself enough time to open themselves up to the world and do other things that might, you might consider that that's which is stopping them from achieving a traditional path of success. But at the end of the day, I think that's what's making them better individuals. And as you said, you are where you're supposed to be. So eventually, fate, we'll get there. We'll get where we are supposed to be.
I feel it's quite relative.
Yeah.
It can't be compared.
Yeah.
It can't be compared because I feel every by the age of 50, 60, whatever, each one of us will have come a long way.
Yeah.
Wherever we are.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, I mean, the fame and everything, it's just that is where being at the right place at the right time comes in. That I believe is true to some extent.
Yeah, but again, it does not matter in the long run. What
to some people it does.
To some people, that's another.
So all I want for, and I'm sure for you also is the same. All we want as creatives is that people listen to us, or at least people come and see what we are doing.
Yeah.
That we are able to give what we have.
Yeah.
And be appreciated.
Yeah.
And criticized also. Be criticized also at the same time. But yeah, that's what matters to us most. Rather than how many people are listening, how many people are watching.
So again, we were also talking about this other project, and we said that even if it's 10 people, it still will mean the world to us. If 10 people are engaging in that project, it will still mean the world to us. Because again, that's our idea of success. Our idea of success is opening a cafe in Japan. That's where we have envisioned ourselves being. Italy or Japan.
Could be here in Ahmedabad.
That would be very beautiful. We'll bring Italy over here.
So yeah, it's a good session of brainstorming.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say?
And so yeah, I think
I was gonna talk about. So for me, I've been teaching in a school since last 5-6 months, and I've learned a lot of things. I never thought I would teach in a school. I teach music. We have a really good music department and full of really talented people. But so being in a school, the one thing that I've learned is that you have that liberty to leave a lot of impact on your students or even your peers. So because when I think about the people who have had impact on me, that has made me this person today, it's a crucial thing if you think about it. For some people it may be in the school, for some people it may be in the college, for some people it may be just the people who they've met randomly, So for me it was in college. The people I've met, the friends I've made, my faculty who are really good friends now, they've had a huge impact on our lives. When I say our, also I know some of my friends. So I believe in doing that, going ahead, leaving some sort of impact on people.
Yeah.
I'm sure we both have had impact on each other a lot.
Obviously.
So that is what is important than, just talking, and we should be able to have an impact on someone who we really admire, or it could be anyone, could be my students,
and that will help them also sort of fulfill their purpose. So the thing is, if you had not gone to your college and you would not have learnt about these things like surrealism, that would have come very late in my life. When you brought all of those things to me, and when I was exposed to Dali and avant-garde, fuck, cut it, yaar. Avant,
Avant-garde.
avant-garde. So because I was exposed to all of that at such a early age, I was also able to run with it. Because what happens is, after a certain point in time, your mind sort of becomes very closed off. So you can't, so you don't fully go ahead with these abstract or vague ideas.
Yeah, when you jump into commercial scenario,
Exactly.
your thing just shuts
So
off.
even you had thought that
Yeah,
you
I've
would
had
go into commercial
those
before you
things.
went to college.
Yeah, in my first year, I wanted to do Bollywood. I always wanted to continue playing piano, of course.
Yeah.
But when it came to composing music and all that, the only thing we knew was, okay, yeah, we can, by learning how to produce and all, we can compose music
Yeah.
for the film.
Yeah.
India. But then, second year happened, third year happened, and the impact that I'm talking about, which happens inside of classroom, but majority outside of the classroom.
Yeah.
Those small moments when you are just discussing something with your faculty outside of the classroom, that has left a huge change in my life that I can't even describe. So, can you believe that the whole decision of me going to France happened because of that informal, outside of the class session with one of my faculties. His name is Jimmy. He teaches composition in KM.
And
so we spoke for 2 hours. I was showing him my composition, and he then made me listen to a lot of Ravel's piano music. So I was blown away. I hadn't heard anything similar, close to that kind of music at that time. So it just changed my perspective. That was in the first year, when I was thinking about Bollywood and all those things. So this is what I want to do to someone who I'm educating or I'm imparting my knowledge to.
And I know personally how big of an impact Ravel has had on you, because I remember on the death anniversary of Ravel, you would close off all the lights, you would burn a candle, and then you would play a piece.
That's very cliche.
Yeah, you would pay him homage. But yeah,
and ironically, we're talking about being early, late, or whatever.
Yeah.
And that one composer that I admire the most has composed very little music. If you compare it to his peers, who is Debussy, or even the composers from earlier periods like Mozart, Beethoven, they've written humongous amount of music. And you look at Ravel's music, it's fairly it's very little in numbers, but again, it's the impact he is leaving on people like us. That is life changing. So that is more important for me than. So even if I'm able to compose, let's say, very little music, but I want to create something that will.
That could be passed on to the next generation or the generations.
I'm not saying inspire people, but just have some impact on people.
So Van Gogh, he was traditionally, if we look at his life, he was too far behind than anybody else. He was broke.
Yeah.
But his art is now touching so many people, and it's inspiring them.
And we are talking about, sometimes you feel that they have composed so little, or created very little because they are not disciplined. I don't think that's true. In some cases it's true, but I feel if you are just Bach, for example, he kept on. He was a genius, of course. He's
Yeah.
a genius. But he didn't compose for himself.
Huh.
He composed for churches, he composed for courts. He was copying so many other people's. He was working as a copyist.
Yeah.
I mean, when I say copying, he was a copyist because there were no printers.
Yeah.
In that period. So just by copying, he learned so many things.
Yeah.
So he had no liberty to, make music for himself, release something because he likes doing it.
Even Bukowski, he worked in the post office for so many years, and he achieved traditional success very late in his life.
Yeah. So Bach, I would heartily say that he's the musical genius, and he's the musical Jesus, as you can say, who has written the Bible, musical Bible. But if I were to compare, let's say, Ravel and Bach, of course, Ravel also did commissioned works.
Yeah.
Some of his works are commissioned. Some.
Yeah.
But most of his music came out of him.
Yeah.
Because he was inspired.
Huh.
He was on a journey. I think when he wrote the whole series called Mirua, which means mirrors. He was on a vacation, and it's a collection of piano pieces about different objects, or animals or birds or water. It's just he was inspired a lot by natural elements. So I feel because he took time to get inspired, he was able to compose such good music that can leave impact on people. So I can't say that he composed very little. He was not disciplined.
Like George R.R. Martin.
Being idle, wasting time, and that whole thing is different. You're on Instagram and blah blah. That is different. But just in that period, it was very easy to just be idle and
disconnect.
Disconnect. And he also had a house which was very much outside of the city. So he was living in that house where he was completely disconnected. So that also counts.
Yeah.
If you are not doing anything, but still you are just being, you are having a lot of ideas which you are not even aware of, which will come out in your later works, or it could come out after 10 years.
But that is also something that so now that is also getting very difficult because
it is getting
of social media, but that is extremely important, and so that is why
now it's about discipline. That if you want to just do nothing,
for that also
all the distractions to stay away.
Even not being in a creative field, that is very important to declutter your mind, because we just have such excess of information. I was talking about even when it comes to discipline. So Stephen King, he writes 6 pages a day, and he's been able to publish so many novels. And George R.R. Martin, he procrastinates a lot. Like he's not been able to finish I don't know which book, but he's not able to finish the Game of Thrones ka book. And sometimes, so it's a balance of being disciplined and also taking the pressure off of traditional success. And I think that will sort of enable you to walk onto the path of, where you're supposed to be, and sort of not resist the magic of the universe, because we both do also believe in that. And I think that's also the fun of life, when you don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely believe that. And I remember the same again. So this was my whole, the outside of the classroom impact.
Yeah.
And then there was one more moment when the same faculty, Jimmy, I will say his name again, Jimmy. We were in an orchestration class, and he sometimes he used to talk about a lot of things other than orchestration. It used to open our minds a lot. But then in one particular class, I think we had some assignment or something. Some of us didn't do, some of us ended up doing it. So then the whole class just was about why you should do this. So that is also important.
Yeah.
So it's not about orchestration. It's about having another skill.
Yeah.
A set of skill, another skill set in your life.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing just ended up being about the uncertainty of what you are going to end up doing.
Yeah, because
so he gave his own example that he was like, I have no idea how the fuck I'm in India.
Yeah.
So that's the whole uncertain part. But he enjoys it. Sometimes he doesn't, sometimes he does. But that's how his path has been. And he told us that, maybe someday it's gonna come handy, and it has come handy, learning orchestration. I got some projects of orchestration.
Big projects.
Yeah. And if I just considered it, a subject or something that I have to do it just to pass, it wouldn't have helped me. And now that's a skill that I can use in my music.
Yeah.
So yeah, who knows? Maybe I can be an orchestrator, full-time orchestrator 10 years down the line for some
nobody knows
big studio in LA. Who knows? So yeah, I believe that things should be uncertain.
But they also so I also believe that everything that happens sort of prepares you for what's going to come next.
Yeah.
So that is why so learning skills or being in tough situations or not achieving success sort of prepares you to embrace it when you get it. So an example very close to my heart is of my father. He did not achieve traditional success until very late in his life.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about him.
Yeah.
I've seen you talk about him in a way that, of course you know him a lot more than I do, but so I really appreciate what he has done in his life.
Of course, definitely.
And that's one of the inspirations, because then it's about having a diversity.
Yeah.
If he didn't do what he did in those 10, 15, 20 years,
yeah,
and 30s are really painful.
Extremely.
When you have a family.
Yeah.
So, but yet he was in the, he was in the domain. You can say that he was in the domain. He was not completely shut off. And it's because of those years that he's able to do it right now.
And he had held that dream very close to his heart.
Yeah.
So
that's the most important thing. You
exactly.
should have it. You can't give up.
Yeah. So perseverance.
Yeah.
And when it happened, like I've seen it right in front of my eyes.
Now it doesn't matter. Like he's right now unstoppable. He's not worrying about the end result. How much. Because how many people are gonna. Because it's so close to your heart that you just wanna put it out there.
And he had spent 10-15 years waiting, and 10-15 years is a long time.
Yeah.
And he had spent it waiting, and then when he got when the right opportunities arose in front of him, everything sort of fell into place.
Yeah.
It was as if it was just waiting to happen.
And now it's he's unstoppable.
Yeah.
You just keep making films.
Yeah.
And that's how it is.
Yeah.
So that's what I rely on. It's like, okay, it's fine. It should come naturally.
Yeah.
I'm teaching in a school right now, and I'm very confident that this experience is gonna help
you
a lot
ahead
so
in life.
Just gonna keep doing.
It's gonna bring you something that's gonna sort of, you're gonna go through that path. So this is a step.
Yeah.
And each step is incredibly important, and sometimes along the way
Some
we might.
Some of the composers worked as a clerk in the bank,
but that has helped them.
Yeah,
maybe not in their career, but as them as people.
Yeah, as people, as even in their music, the way it leaves some impact. Like whatever you do in your life.
Of course, definitely.
If you as a filmmaker are working in a supermarket,
it's gonna bring me new
behind the
experiences.
Counter, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
you're gonna
I don't
meet so
believe
many
that, I
people.
don't believe in this of uh, non-field jobs or whatever. Whatever you do is relevant to what you want to do.
Yeah, even as a person,
Yeah.
it's gonna shape you as a human being. Because, and in that way, life is extremely beautiful. Because when you look back, you understand. So I think we do put a lot of pressure on this traditional idea of achieving success.
We shouldn't.
Yeah, and and we do live in the wrong generation because of this entire social media charade.
Well,
But
about being a misfit or feeling left out or feeling not belonged
but even that
somewhere,
is for a reason.
that's there, but it's up to you to find people you know where you connect with.
Yeah, that's the difficult thing.
Yeah. So, but you have to do it.
Yeah.
In your case, it's different than in my case. I've been
Yeah.
around people who have, because since 9 years, I've been, surrounded with people
Yeah.
who are like-minded or musicians or whatever. For you, it's different because you have mixed crowd where you are studying right now. So for you, it's.
But that's also helping me in a way
Yeah,
because I
it'll
have
give
so
you
many perspectives,
You have different perspectives, yes.
which makes it so, which translates in my work.
Yes, but also you don't feel belonged sometimes.
That is there. So
for that you have to
Huh.
make an effort to go out there and make connections.
Yeah.
Or find that space where you belong.
Yeah.
And in our city, I've seen there are people.
Yeah.
You just have to reach out to them. You have to penetrate that community.
Yeah.
I've seen Ahmedabad is full of interesting people. Just that we haven't met them.
Yeah. And I think
So-
when the time will be right,
Yeah.
it's
And
gonna
so
fall
you
into
should-
place.
Probably for you, it's
To put that
have
effort
that
to,
goal that okay, I'm gonna maybe just step out of
yeah.
my zone and meet out. Like, actually, step out of their zone and go
More into my zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And find people who are, like-minded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we should be wary of the ideas that social media projects towards us, because at the end of the day, it'll all be all right, and you're gonna get what's yours. So a person has told me this on and off and keeps reminding me this, that you're gonna get what's yours. That at the end of the day, if you feel like you've lost everything, it's gonna come back if it's yours, if it belongs to you. So I think that is a very beautiful thing that we should keep in mind. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe in that.
Yeah.
If it's
meant to be,
meant to be, it'll come.
it will be. Yeah.
But also remember that, it's only upwards. Your journey, cut.
No cuts.
Your journey as a whole. I don't see, there'll be ups and downs.
Yeah.
I don't say that, you should always go up.
Hmm.
But if you look at the longer picture, in a longer run, you are gonna be a successful person.
Again, subjective.
In your respective.
Yeah.
In your, in your way.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you know what you want to do, if you
That's
stick to the process,
Yeah.
just do your thing.
And let it happen.
Let it happen.
Yeah.
Then, okay, sometimes you put less effort, sometimes you put more effort. You'll get result accordingly, and you know that.
Of course. Yeah.
If I'm lazy, I know that, okay, if I have an exam tomorrow, if I'm studying right now, I know that I'm not gonna get like
Great marks.
98%.
Yeah.
So then there's no point regretting that, I didn't study the whole year.
Yeah.
So there's no point regretting. You just make sure that, okay, next time maybe I'll do it.
I'll do a little better.
Yeah, I'll be more disciplined. So
Hmm.
I feel it's about just keep getting better as a person, as an artist,
Yeah.
and leave everything else up to the nature,
Universe.
universe, almighty.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a very beautiful episode. Thank you.
I hope I don't listen to this because I don't like listening to my voice.
That's a different topic altogether. But thank you, Harshal, for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me, Taapas.
And I
this
wish...
was truly, I was a little skeptical about this. To the audience listening to us right now, I was very skeptical about doing this, but then it ended up being very meaningful and, brainstorming. These are the conversations we usually have on day-to-day basis.
But the world does not know this.
The world does not know this. So I'm happy. We should do it more.
I
feel. I'm gonna tell you that we should do it more.
And we'll be very happy to have you. So yeah. Thank you for joining in. Thank you, Harshal. And I wish all of you a very happy new year. Make this your year. Achieve whatever you want to achieve. And just be happy. We're here. Thank you.